welcome back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, your weekly show where we round up all of the Stadia and gaming news for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games and up there on your cloud podcast preference of choice. This week, you're joining myself, Chris, your host for the show, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
You know what, Chris? I've just got too many games to play at the moment. It's not fair. I need more time.
That is a problem, and we'll be talking about all the games in this show because we've got a great lineup of news stories this week, starting off with Cyberpunk, working our way through the Ubisoft investors call, and moving on to some new game announcements, teasers, movies, movie adaptations, and much, much more. But before we dive into all that, don't forget to give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of the content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games, just like our first looks, our live streams, our streaming sessions with lovely people in our Discord server, and much, much more. But Richie.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm in a little isolation lockdown at the moment. I've not been allowed out of the house for about a week now. Am I going a bit crazy? A little bit. It feels like it. What the worst part is, it's
It'll be great for you next week.
Yes, next week will be fine. In terms of look, everything's fine. Don't worry, I've not got COVID. I'm triple vax and stuff. It's other reasons why I have to stay at home. But I'm off work as well, so I don't have any work to keep me busy. And obviously, I've got games to play, which are great. I've been chipping away at all sorts of games. But we hit this problem this week where I ran out of food because I'd only planned for so many days isolation, and we found out we had to isolate for a little bit longer, which meant we ran out of food. We're still waiting our HelloFresh delivery, and it's kind of like, that moment where you just pop to the shops and get stuff, but because you're not allowed out,
you're going to have to do online delivery thing.
Yeah, my parents are going to help.
Which means you have
anywhere, for the most part.
I've always disliked the Tesco Asda online delivery things because you go, I want these things. You put in your basket, you pay the money. The guy turns up with half. You want the baked beans? He's a carrot instead. Fuck off with your carrot. Just give me what I've ordered. If they could guarantee I'd get what I'd ordered, I'd use them all the time.
Yeah.
But because they do substitutes, I don't want a substitution. I want the thing I bought.
I did look into ordering from Amazon Prime because you get some kind of discount on delivery. But it did give me the option on Amazon to opt out for either don't give me a substitute, so there is an option now to negate that a little bit. But it's just weird how you take all this stuff for granted and that you just presume I want a beer or a bottle of pop or whatever, and you just don't have it.
It's kind of weird. I've always found it kind of weird because surely you should know what's in your warehouse. I don't see why the substitutions need to even exist.
Maybe they make more profit off the substitution, so it's more of an inside baseball kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I just think it's people have accepted it as okay practice.
Probably, but okay practice.
Let's not get around that
business decisions aside, we have covered Google Stadia for 126 weeks, so talking about practices and swapping things out and stuff. We've got all the knowledge on that one, and that's what our lovely viewers and listeners out there are here for, of course, not talking about shopping and isolation, but talking about video games. So we've been playing loads of video games, and this past week, Richie, we checked out on our Thursday night live stream. We dove back into Riders Republic, as we have our Ubisoft Plus subscriptions for a little bit longer yet. And we jumped back in, we did some more races, we didn't improve that much on our flight times with the squirrel suits and stuff, but we played with you lovely people out there in the community. It was nice to jump back in again. Riders Republic, I think we've both agreed that it's one of those games you don't commit loads of time to unless you're hardcore extreme sports, but you can drop in at any given moment and have a fun time.
It's a perfect Ubisoft Plus game. So if let's say you decide to get the new whatever the next Assassin's Creed is on Ubisoft Plus, it's one of them games I could see myself casually dropping into while I've got the subscription active.
Yeah, it's one of those. They added a few new vehicles. We had the rocket suit last time. We had the kind of the paraglide motor this time round, which again, it's not really true reflection of extreme sports.
I couldn't figure out how to fly upwards with it. It's press up on the stick.
You pull back on the sticks. For those who aren't inverted like Richie is. Richie's an invert.
I'm not inverted. If you go in the settings, it's by default set to inverted. I changed it to non-inverted, so I'm right.
So you're in the minority though, still.
No, I'm not. I'm the correct way because otherwise, what I'm doing will be inverted.
All right, you've confused me now with where we're at. But speaking of inversions, let's invert this conversation back to what we've been playing. Richie, what have you been checking out this week? You said you've got so many games to play in your back catalogue.
Yes.
All no doubt massive open world games. What are you focusing your time on?
So at the moment, I'm literally waiting, as you are, on the delivery of Horizon Forbidden West. So that's going to be all weekend, because we're actually recording this on a Friday for a change.
Yeah,
Friday afternoon, because we both happen to be off work. But I was playing Pokemon Shining Pearl, and then Legends Arceus turned up, and I was like, yeah, I did the things that I'll just play for now, just to see what it's like. It's like, this game's better. So I moved on to Arceus.
Yeah, it's the same. So if at any point you hear a knock at the door within our podcast recording,
and we both get excited,
yeah, we get super excited. Yeah, because we've both had notifications from Amazon to tell us that the delivery is imminently due in the next few hours. Of course, it could be sooner, it could be later. But yes, Horizon Forbidden West is my priority focus. So I might be on isolation duty, but I will have an entirely gorgeous, beautiful world of robot dinosaurs to take down and explore.
Hence my comments of that saying it would have been great for you being on full isolation next week rather than this week, because then you would have had this brand spanking shiny new game to occupy your time.
True. I am off next week as well, so I've got plenty of time to dive into it. I'm just allowed out the house to get food and fresh air, which is the other thing. I mean, I am allowed out for walks, so it's just mingling with society is the thing that's frowned upon. But less of that. One of the things I did check out on the channel this week during my time at home, I went back and checked out Submerged Hidden Depths as a first look on the channel, because it was released, I think, on Stadia probably just coming up on a year ago now. I'm guessing the exclusivity has ended. And we didn't check it out for whatever reason. I can't actually recall, but it was a pro game. It dropped, and I don't know whether it was just bigger titles were maybe out or my interest was elsewhere at the time, but I'm sure we actually had the intention of doing a first look, because I recall making the thumbnail or trying to get a PNG of the logo, and I thought the logo font was really small and irritating to get onto a thumbnail, and for whatever reason it never materialised.
I think it might have just been one of them where we were busy at the time and then the window kind of passed.
Yeah, exactly. So I never checked it out, but I'm glad I did. I went back and looked at it. The first look is available on the channel now. Definitely encourage people to check it out. And the reason I went back to it is because it's about to get a multi-platform release. So it's coming to PC, Steam, Epic Store, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series, and Xbox One. Not Nintendo Switch, which I did say in the first look. So there is a little asterisk in the description, but I did say I in my mind I figured it would be a perfect game to come to the Switch, based on the art style. It's not the most graphically enhanced, but it
does feel like a Switch game.
Yeah, exactly. So it didn't. It's not. It might do in the future, but either way, that all over the gaming websites give me the edge to think, actually, you know what? I own this game. Why haven't I checked it out? So I went back, did a first look, played it for about an hour. I had a great time with it. It is a relaxploration game, as they say. There's no combat. It's very much puzzle solving and exploration. It takes a lot of tropes from your classic exploration games. There's a few times that it's actually, the story's quite reminiscent of Wavetale, but the graphics are obviously a different artistic choice. But yeah, definitely recommend, if you've got it as part of Pro, I think it's $19.99 at the moment, which is a bit cheaper than its new launch counterparts. So if you are intrigued by Submerged Hidden Depths, I'd definitely check it out. Sequel to 2015's Submerged, which I also didn't know until after I did the first look. I was like, oh, it's a sequel to another game. I don't know if there's any correlation.
Doesn't do his research, guys. He doesn't do his research.
I know. I'm just here to play games. But yeah, check that out. Enjoy it. Let us know what your thoughts were in the comments down below. But Richie, we should move this show along. And before we do so, let's thank our lovely members out there. Of course, we have fantastic support from our viewers, our listeners across all platforms, YouTube, podcast services out there in the cloud. And again, every week we try and say it a little bit more, but special shout out to you all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Myself and Richie and Tom do this as a hobby on the side, and it's time we dedicate to talking about games, showcasing them, editing, bringing stuff together, so you have content to consume. And as someone who listens to a lot of gaming podcasts, I know the work and effort that goes into it. So thank you to you out there, and a special extra thank you to our lovely members who support us that extra bit further for as little as 99p. You not only support us that bit more, you encourage us to make better content. We help reinvest in the channel. You've seen our lovely new introductions over the last few months that we brought in. We'd love to bring more to the channel as time goes on as well, and we have all the intention to do so. So thank you all for your additional support. And not only that, you get badges, you get stickers, you get super chats, and Richie, they get access to SideQuest, up to 6 days early, so they don't have to wait. You don't have to wait until Fridays when it drops some free feeds. So we've had amazing guests, we've had amazing content, we've got some terrific shows out there on SideQuest. Richie, what will we be focusing and talking about this coming week?
So we've took a break from our mini-series on exploring what the big publishers will be bringing to the market this year. But we're going to go back into it with Ubisoft. It's something we've wanted to do, but then we had Grace Yang on as a special guest. Then everyone bought everyone in the industry, and then Stadia Pro hit 50 games. So we've had a couple of more time pressing topics. But we're going to be exploring Ubisoft's game library for 2022.
Yeah, there's a lot of news this week after the Ubisoft earnings call, so it felt like a great time to jump back in and assess Ubisoft and Stadia's relationship as we push on with the year ahead. So we're going to go away and talk about all that. If you remember, you get it up to 6 days early. You get it this probably Sunday, if not maybe even earlier, depending if Richie can pull himself away from Horizon Zero Dawn to edit Zero Dawn. I knew I was going to do that. Forbidden West to edit the show.
I am actually tempted. Sometimes when we do record early, I just go, I can't. Sometimes we're recording on a Saturday night, I can't be bothered to record to edit tonight. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll get up on the Sunday and edit, which is why sometimes you get it midday on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to promise anything, but I might actually do the edit and publishing today. So that's Friday the 18th. So then it's out of the way.
Well, by the time they hear this, they'll either know you're a liar or you're true to your words.
Well. Our members will.
That's right. There's your little hook, line, and sinker for this week. In with the members as well, there is something I'd like to do for members. If you're interested in this, members out there, I'm addressing you, or future to be members. I'm interested to do a behind-the-scenes look of how we usually make the show. Because I know we do it. We've done it for 126 episodes, and I'm figured, we don't ever talk about how we come up with the thumbnails, how we do our doc, how we just basically sit down to record, how we do our audio, because I know a lot of our viewers and listeners themselves are interested in content creation, and one of the things we always recommend is just do it, just start it, and you've got to start somewhere, and you'll improve over time, no doubt, like we have. So let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in a behind the scenes thing, what tools we use.
That might work as a members only live stream, so they can ask questions live as we're going through it, going through the tools we use, the programs we use, how we structure out the doc, all that sort of stuff. Yeah,
and what we do after we can't stop recording, and what behind the scenes looks like. So let me know. It's something I've thought about for a few weeks now, and I thought let's get the ball rolling with it. But we digress, Richie. We digress. 126 episodes. People are not here for us to talk and ramble on forever because we've only got a short window of time. So, would you do me the honours of introducing us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news?
Good bit of emphasis on that this week. I'm feeling your energy.
It's Friday afternoon, and I must admit I'm not a big caffeine drinker anymore. But I had a cup of coffee this morning.
That explains it. Okay. So
I went to McDonald's. I got up, went to McDonald's for breakfast to get my hair cut. So I'm on the caffeine today.
Oh wait, you went to McDonald's for breakfast to get your hair cut?
No, I was going to get my hair cut, because I just got up and just got ready and went. So I was like, I'll pick up some breakfast en route.
Picturing Ronald
McDonald.
I
didn't get my hair cut. It's one way to do it, I suppose.
Ronald McDonald.
He does have my barber enough.
He does have a fantastic perm, does Ronald McDonald. I can picture him cutting your hair and Grimace mopping up the dead hair on the floor.
I wonder if I called my barber and went, hi, will you cut my hair McDonald's and I'll buy you a Big Mac? Would he do it?
Oh, I can imagine little bits of hair in your dip and everything.
I don't know if McDonald's would let us.
No,
if we did it outside,
they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. If
we did it outside,
can you leave the premise in the kids' play area? Oh dear. Yeah. Right, folks. Ronald McDonald and hairdressing aside, let's dive into it. Story number 1 of the week. The one and only Cyberpunk 2077 has had a mega patch 1.5, which is introduced and brought along with it plenty of updates, next-gen features, and we're going to break down all that a little bit more. If you are a Cyberpunk 2077 player, of course, Google Stadia famed for having one of the best performances, and I'd certainly agree the cheapest entry into playing this game. I think we did actually tweet out from our official account, it's the cheapest / best place to play. And people will still comment and saying it's not the best though, and I'm like, I'm not saying it's the best, I'm saying it's the bestest and cheapest, which is undoubtedly true, because you don't pay anything, you just buy the game and you can play it at its
the
best.
Thing is, if you think about to play Cyberpunk 2077 before this patch, before the PS5 versions and stuff were released, you couldn't play it on PS4 or Xbox
One.
Xbox One.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Stadia or PC. There were your choices. And PC was struggling unless you had pretty much mid to high end graphics cards,
Mm-hmm.
which are very, very expensive.
And hard to get, remember? There's still a shortage all over the globe.
Yeah, I mean, even if you already had them. So if you're like, this is the game I want to play, I want to get back into gaming, I need to upgrade my PC for this. It would have been a nightmare and very expensive. So when we say the cheapest and best, it's that price added in, because straight up any game is better on the top end PC hardware.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the reality of it. There's better hardware available for PC players than any console or cloud gaming player.
Yeah, and you can say that about PS5 and Xbox. There are PCs.
Yeah, I am.
I'm
absolutely including them in that category. Like, if you get the top, like a decent like i7 i9 or AMD equivalent, and like a 3080, and decent amount of RAM, your gaming PC is going to destroy any console. Because consoles are mass market. You're using top tier hardware there. It's like it's not a comparison. It shouldn't be
top tier. So I thought that was funny, just because how people get defensive over it. And I'm like, I didn't say the best. I said the best and the cheapest combined, because it is, and arguably it still is to this day, because Stadia got the 1.5 patch. It's live now. Go check it out. Richie, I'm glad we've got you on the show, because you are one of the few people I know who actually completed Cyberpunk. Like, you played the story through to its entirety in like just a few short sittings. I think it was like the Christmas it came out, right? That was your...
Yeah, I played. It was my Christmas game for, what was it, 2020, I think. Was it is Cyberpunk 2 years old? Yeah, it will be. It'll be 2020.
Which is crazy to say. It feels like yesterday. It really, really does.
One thing I do need to correct myself on, though. I did say, I think on on one of our shows, I can't remember which one, that I don't think 1.5 is going to have the next gen stuff in it. Because I felt, the next gen stuff, surely it's a big enough upgrade that they'll do a 2.0 patch. I was wrong, but
well, it's actually we'll get into it, because there are some weird caveats to this as well. So, first things first, it launched with next gen graphics, is what it was touted as, and CD Projekt Red put out their big yellow poster that showed you the breakdown columns of what they've brought, what they've added. And it launched with a PS5 patch version and an Xbox Series X version. But weirdly enough, not available to purchase. So if you go on like Amazon and go PS5 Cyberpunk, it doesn't exist as like a physical version. It's digital upgrade and next gen upgrade only. So I don't know whether they're going to save it for like a Game of the Year release or some kind of push on that front.
It might just be a more convenient way, rather than putting out another set of discs out there in the wild, because that's expensive to set up in the whole thing. Just buy the last thing and pay the difference to upgrade digitally.
Yeah. So, along with these next-gen upgrades that they bring along, one of the biggest things is the graphic fidelity has been tweaked. We know Stadia has always notoriously had the option for performance mode or frame rate modes. You've always had those two options on Stadia, which puts it akin closer to the PC version. So the PC version, Night City, looked great originally anyway, but the next-gen patch is going to bring in better render modes, better performance mode, in line with PS5. Now, they did say as well, ray tracing and shadows. Now, this is kind of it said on the Stadia column it had already been implemented in a previous version, and I don't think anyone out there actually realised or knew that ray tracing / shadows had been implemented in the game. And I don't know how true this is. Is it true ray tracing, or is it some kind of variation on the word?
Well, ray tracing is a very specific piece of technology, and to my knowledge, there isn't a game on Stadia that uses ray tracing. I don't think the Stadia hardware is necessarily compatible with it, because it uses specific element of the GPU.
Yeah.
So if them elements aren't there on the GPU, it can't do it. It's very much that simple. So I don't think ray tracing is on this, because I don't think any game on Stadia has ray tracing.
Yeah, that's what one of the weird things that came out of it was.
I suppose it might be possible. The thing is, it's hard to know with Stadia's hardware because it's all custom. So they're using a custom AMD GPU. So it's entirely possible that the cores are there on the GPU, so that ray tracing is possible. But most developers have just kind of went, let's not bother if we're struggling to hit the 4K 60 anyway. It's just straight. That's one of the first things you turn off.
Yeah, we also don't really know. Oh, actually, wait there. Hang on a minute. Live reporting from the Helix Cloud Game Studio. The ray traced / local shadows tick box on Twitter is no longer ticked, and it no longer says previously added. It's got an empty box now under the Stadia column.
Yeah.
So I feel like they might have backtracked on that then originally.
It was probably an error on their part.
So yeah, okay. Right, folks, we've solved it live on the show. You don't need to worry about it. Anyone who's in the comments ready to go, actually, it's not available now. Yeah, Ray Trace Local Shadows is apparently on PS5, Xbox Series X, not Series S, not PS4, not Xbox One. On PC it was previously added, but on Stadia, unfortunately, that box is left unchecked. And also spatial headphone audio, we should point out as well. I'm sure that was ticked or said previously. It's almost like they copied and pasted the columns.
That seems to be the case. And spatial headphone audio and ray tracing are just not compatible with Stadia, to the best of my knowledge at this point in time.
Yeah.
So.
And definitely can confirm on their Twitter account. It's still there now if you head up to the Cyberpunk official Twitter account. If you scroll down a few more tweets, the original post is still there that says, Ray Trace Local Shadows is under previously added for Stadia. And actually what they've done is they had PC and Stadia in the same column, and they've since separated them in the new update. So evidently there is some disparity between the two. Yeah. And that would come in the form of that. So there we go. So that's the first part of the updates. I thought the game looked great anyway initially. Obviously it did require some work to tweak it and bring it up to date. So it's good to know they've done that. Moving on, one of the extra features they added was additional apartments. So the level designers said originally when they announced the game that you could own multiple apartments within Cyberpunk. Now they've brought in some new ones where you can have stashes, you can sleep within the game and rest your character and go have a shower with your clothes on, because that's still a thing they joked about, and mess around with a few bits and pieces. Doesn't really mean anything to me. Additional apartments is like it's a virtual apartment within a virtual game. So
yeah, I think something like that means more if there's a way of customizing your apartment. But I never found the apartment you get limiting in any way for what I needed it for in the game. So I could store everything I wanted to. And then that's the only reason I'd really go there, to be honest, apart from for story reasons. So, but it's cool, fine.
It's more stuff. Again, this is the weird thing with this patch announcement, because there was rumours prior to the announcement that next gen was going to arrive, and then, as I said, it arrived in a digital-only version, and it wasn't, like you said, 2.0. And a lot of people are saying that they haven't done as much as you'd expect after a year and a bit. As far as patch, they've since scrapped their multiplayer offering that was going to come. There is supposed to be rumoured free story content. They've not mentioned anything about that.
I think what we have to be realistic in that year and a bit, what they have done is get the PS4 Xbox One versions playable, which has probably put all of this that we're talking about now back by months.
That is true.
That firefighting probably might have took them 6 months.
Yeah, and all of the internal problems they've had as well.
Yeah. And then they've got to restart development on the PS5, Xbox Series X versions. Yeah. While then also bringing in this other content that they probably put. This is not like the new apartments. This is not important to go now. It's more important to fix what we've released. So fix that, then we'll work on it.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think it's fine. Again, it's not a 2.0 patch, which I genuinely did think. And I think my rationale was pretty solid that the next gen version, that should be 2.0. Yeah. But yeah,
that makes sense. Credit where credit is due as well. That the Stadia version was in line with all of these updates. Like this could have very much been 1.5 is out. It'll be coming to Stadia
at some point.
At some point in the future, which we know probably means by Christmas at this level. So the fact that it's in line, we definitely can see similarities. I think originally when it launched with the PC version, there's clearly a tied setup going on with CD Projekt and the PC/Stadia version. So it's great to see. One of the other improvements they're bringing is combat improvements. So the game was criticised quite early on from the combat didn't quite work. Of course, it isn't an RPG game originally, but they said that the enemies and the combat, the way they reacted, sometimes felt a little bit different. So they've updated it to make shootouts and alley brawls feel more Interactive enemies are more tactical, they're more likely to dodge or take cover. The biggest change to combat has been their behavioural diversification, is what they've said. Different factions now adopt different combat strategies, so some gangs are more aggressive while others are more defensive, and more importantly, the animations have been improved overall to make the combat just feel more visceral. So combat for me was one of those where I think I just had the katana and I just ran in and hacked at them once I realised that that was more efficient than shooting and ducking and dodging.
I use a combination of stuff. Games like this, I tend to play a bit stealthy, and then when I mess up, go loud.
Yeah, that's when you're like, right, okay, I'm angry now.
Yeah.
Ready to go. So that's a big one. Improved vehicles is another big one. This is probably one of the biggest for me because I thought the driving was terrible in Cyberpunk. Yeah. My initial first thoughts were steering around the corner, like the braking of the vehicles. The vehicles just felt so dense and unattached to the road, especially like the motorbike. You see, the map tells you you're supposed to turn left up here, and trying to get it, it was almost like, you know, when we struggled in Riders Republic, Richie, with getting the wingsuits to bank when you need them to suddenly turn left. It felt like that on a car in a game, which shouldn't be happening in today's day and age.
I remember thinking when I first picked it up that it feels weird, but once I got used to it, I was fine. But again, if I think the first impressions mean a lot. So if a lot of people's initial impression of it, the driving's a bit horrible, even if it's a case of give it a couple of hours and you'll actually really like it. But
yeah, so anyway. Part of the update they have said as well, they introduced vast vehicle increases across all different vehicles as well. So they've gone in and looked at individual designs based on size, shape, and everything as well to make it actually feel like you are driving properly. So they've gone in and rather than just travel around an axis, players can now brake, stand, do donuts. The update provides improved engine, clutch, gearbox simulations to make the ride more realistic. So they've really gone in and made it feel more engaging. People
were saying there wasn't much in this patch. They've retweeted every single vehicle in the game to feel very specific. Just a little bit. That's a big patch on its own.
Yeah, definitely. Citizens as well who are driving, they also react properly to danger. So just like in older games, like if you're heading headlong playing chicken with another driver, they'll acknowledge you and try and get out the way as opposed to just smash straight into the front of your car as well. Yeah. Which ties into the other kind of big update as well, which is the overall AI. So before there would be a lot of NPCs just like wandering around aimlessly. They didn't react to like gunfire or cars crashing, as we mentioned just there. So they've gone in and have totally kind of overhauled the way people react to things. If you fire a gun off, people will flee in fear. And again, just make the city feel more lived in and real, which I think is only better for the experience of the actual game itself. And the kind of biggest thing, I think, PS5 controller aside, we're not going to talk about that because it's not DualSense. They've done some rebalancing for me, as it is an RPG after all. They've gone into the skill tree, Richie, and I'm really curious because if you have any recollection of what your final skill tree looked like. I can't even remember what I picked for mine. Yes, so the skill tree, massive overhaul. They've fully gone in and tweaked stuff and moved stuff around. They've actually redid a lot of the features within it, so I'm really curious to know like why what your approach is on that.
I don't know. I'm struggling to remember. I don't really remember any details about the skill tree itself. But the thing is, I think one of the issues I have with this game, because for about a week I very much engrossed myself in Night City in that world. Then I moved on and never thought about it again. And now we're talking about 18 months later or something.
Yeah. Nothing that stood out. They say it in the article.
Yeah, so it's like, well, it's about 14 months since I've played the game. So that's kind of the, well, remembering is like, because I didn't spread it out over a long period of time, and I think I only played about 50 hours or something. It wasn't like 100+ hour game for me, so I didn't do everything there was to do. I just played mainly through the main line.
Yeah, in the article they go on to say many perks and skills from Cyberpunk have been completely replaced. We've gone over, they've took out certain abilities, they've tweaked stuff. So with patch 5, they've gone in and essentially made some abilities more useful. They've integrated them more into like health regeneration and stuff as well. And other abilities have just been like rebalanced so that they're less overpowered. So the Berserker ability, for instance, it only doubles your stamina instead of granting players an infinite pool of stamina. So it's like Yeah, just kind of balancing the game, I guess, to make it more interactive. I can't really remember much about the skill tree other than I remember opening up and going, geez, there's a lot of just stuff that seems like it's little incremental bits. With a skill tree can be good or forgettable quite easily, I think.
Yeah.
And then to put a pin on this whole conversation then, Richie, do you think this will have any real relevance to the game? I think, or is Cyberpunk a case of it soured its audience and its fan base so much, and CD Projekt Red took such a hit? Is this just kind of repairing the leaks now and just putting it to a side, or is this a renaissance for it?
I think yes to both. Some people, I think, are just going to be incredibly soured by it. CD Projekt Red, they did bad, not going to touch that game again, and have moved on. Other people, I think, might just be apathetic to it. It's like, it came out, it wasn't as good as it meant to be. I'm done with it. I've got other stuff to play. Mm-hmm. However, I do think there will be people out there who have been waiting for this, and this feels like now. This is probably the best time to play Cyberpunk. This is what should have been launched. There may be still bugs and issues, but I think if this was launched, what they've done here, I mean, I haven't played it, so I can't really judge too much. But going by from what we're talking about here, if this was how it launched, I think the perception of the game would be very different. I don't know if it would be enough to save the reputation of the game wholesale.
Yeah.
I think Cyberpunk will go down as a game that overpromised, underdelivered, then was patched to a reasonable level.
Yeah, they've possibly saved it. I don't think anyone will be clambering for a sequel anytime soon. I think CD Projekt Red are still kind of riding the wave of The Witcher 3's kind of hype and buzz still.
Well, I'd be excited for a sequel to Cyberpunk because, again, I think the story really holds up. The story is it's a really good story, really engaging, decent characters. It was other elements of the game that let it down. So as an IP, there's as long as they don't just like, I don't know, just not as long as they don't bring out a broken game again, I think the IP can live.
Fool me once.
However, they need to manage it. Would have to manage expectation next time round, and I think one of the problems is making sure fans of the game don't get over carried away, because that can be damning. Sometimes it's not even this time. I think it was CG Projekt Red's fault, but I think next time round there'll be a bit of buzz. Oh, Cyberpunk 2078's coming out. Okay, I'm interested. Let's see what they do.
Yeah,
I think that's what it will be. I don't think the IP's dead.
Right.
But if the next one's a flop as well, then it is.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like, realistically, a sequel would be probably 5 years away at this point. That's all saying that they don't move on to like The Witcher 4 next, as opposed to a sequel.
I don't think they start. I doubt they'll start work on it beyond it. Maybe some basic concept stuff. So yeah, you're looking probably about 5, if not more years, because this game was in a long time in development as well.
It was announced.
I think
so long ago.
Either another game in the Witcher franchise. I don't think it will be The Witcher 4. I think it'll be The Witcher, like a side story, because I think they're done with Geralt. The Witcher Lambert, something like that. Or another new IP, because they have talked about bringing out more, like having a couple of different tentpoles to their business.
Indeed.
And so there's The Witcher is one. Cyberpunk's meant to be another.
And who knows what they've got next. But yes, I'm sure it will tell, of course, if you've not jumped into Cyberpunk, I'd say check it out now. But you've also got Elden Ring on the horizon for gamers out there. You've got Horizon Forbidden West
on the horizon.
There's just so many massive. We have our Dying Light just come out in the world. So yeah, if you have the time to invest in these, like, you do have to ask, why would you go back to a game that's coming up on, well, not 2 years, it's like a year and a half old. But is this enough to merit you jumping back into Night City, or is it kind of, it's in your rearview mirror now, you've moved on?
For me, it's in my rearview mirror, I've moved on, but it's always a game that I've felt that I might return to one day.
Interesting, yeah. Same.
But that's if there's time.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I would have probably jumped in this weekend and checked it out. However, there's a brand new shiny game coming my way imminently. So
if this if this patch came a month ago, you probably would have done.
Yeah, I probably would have. But again, timing is always key. Speaking of timing, Richie, let's move things on to story number 2 of the week. We've got a ton of Ubisoft news. Ubisoft had one of their earnings calls, which we all know is great for scraping the barrel for news stories in relation to Stadia or gaming and other such things. So kicking things off, let's have a look at the first part of this story. Yves Guillemot came out as part of the earnings call, answered some questions, discussed things, and one of the things they implied was their importance of cloud games and cloud native games as a whole. And I'm reading directly from the mouth of Yves, and he said, what we can see about Google or streaming platforms in general is that they do a really good job to bring AAA games to as many screens as possible, and that's a trend that will continue and amplify in the years to come. We don't know exactly when it will be 50% of the industry, but what we see is for a number of players, it's the experience is really smooth and they are having a great experience when they play those games. So that was just a snippet from the Q&A that they have, like a little back and forth. And it just showcases that the head boss over at Ubisoft.
Someone's at the doorbell.
Oh, Richie.
Oh, it's here, guys. Should we do a live unboxing?
It's been gone. It's been gone. I'm safe. I won't. But yes, there it is. Horizon's here, folks. But before I get to that, I need to finish a podcast apparently. So. Yes, Yves Guillemot, really happy with cloud gaming. He seems, and we've said it time and time again, but Ubisoft definitely seem happy with their relationship with Stadia and Luna, and they're very, very keen to just get everything everywhere. And we've said, and I've said many, many times, that I think Ubisoft are really keen to cut out the middleman as much as possible, and having Ubisoft Plus just be the go-to platform for their catalogue. It brings them the most profit, the most revenue, so why wouldn't they do it? And this just, for me, just goes to show that actually, yeah, they're quite content with cloud gaming, and they, thankfully, from a Stadia fan's perspective, a cloud gaming fan's perspective, they're keen to just continue this support. So it looks like we're going to get Ubisoft games for the foreseeable. Any takes from this?
Not really. It's like there was a bit where they mentioned the importance of cloud native games, so this makes me think that Ubisoft are considering things that what can cloud gaming technology do that localized hardware can't, and how can we implement this into their own games? Because we know Ubisoft are looking into having their own cloud-based service for something like Ubisoft Plus. So maybe if that's Google Stream backing it or something else, it's interesting, and it kind of puts into perspective why Ubisoft seem to be the only developer that are strongly supporting Stadia still.
Yeah,
I think they see the future in it.
Yeah, I think we said many times before, but cloud gaming is in such its infancy, and like Ubisoft, they've always been the front runner. They've done it on the past. They've done it with like the PlayStation Vita. They had Assassin's Creed games running on there. They're supporting the Switch. They've teamed with Nintendo to make like exclusive Mario Rabbids games. So they're always out there pushing relationships, I think, in a really, really positive way. And like, there's not a bigger testament to that than their relationship with Stadia and Amazon Luna from right off the bat. And I can't imagine they're making tons of money, but they clearly can see a future in this, and it's good to see them kind of cement that.
If I'm putting myself in Yves Guillemot's mind, what he's probably looked at the potential of Amazon Luna and Google Stadia, and went, I can sell these on letting them put Ubisoft Plus on there. Where Microsoft and Sony might be a bit more guarded about it because they want to take that in-store revenue cut.
Yeah, indeed. Again, it's the middleman that we've...
I can't remember. Is Ubisoft Plus on Microsoft?
It's coming. Xbox? So it's not part of Game Pass. Ubisoft Plus is coming. They announced it a few months ago. Not including Game Pass, but then there's always that yet. It's not including Game Pass yet. Just like EA Play has like a light version on Game Pass, and it may be only a matter of time before Xbox want Game Pass to be this all-encompassing go-to subscription that you have everything. But is that beneficial for Ubisoft? Or if they can take a bigger cut by just having Ubisoft Plus standalone? And I think you're right with that.
And by nurturing the relationship with Google and Amazon, if these platforms explode, Ubisoft are top tier in with the relationship there. When others will then, I think it's one of them. There's a critical point I think any new platform will get to, where you have to go from trying to find and putting effort into bringing games to the platform to the developers coming to you, we want to put it on yours.
Yeah.
Where when you hit that critical mass of install base, I think the conversation flips. Who's kind of where the power lies.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, the power lies with the developers, and Google has to go cap in hand begging, "Can I have a game, please?"
Yeah, completely. It's the hard miles you need to put in to make a business
where
successful.
Where Sony just need to sit back and wait for Ubisoft to pick up the phone and go, "New Assassin's Creed, yep, done."
Yeah, completely. And again, numbers and money talks. And I genuinely think I can see a time when Ubisoft Plus does become part of Game Pass. But then if you fast forward 10 years and they're renegotiating contracts and Ubisoft want more money out of their cut of the Game Pass slice, and Microsoft might have a falling out with them and say, well, actually, we're providing Game Pass, and Ubisoft go, well, we're only getting like 10% out of the Game Pass revenue because it's split between EA Play and first party studios and third party deals and all this other stuff, spending 78 billion on Activision. Ubisoft, if they have their other own platforms to lean back on, like a cloud ran Ubisoft Plus, where they get 100% almost of the profits, that's much more beneficial to them. So again, it's very, very early doors, but as a business you need to keep your hand in a lot of pies, so you've got options. You need a diverse portfolio of choices. You can't just bank on one horse in the business world.
See, what I would love Ubisoft to do is find a way of getting Ubisoft Plus on PlayStation 5, because for me personally that would be ideal, because then if I'm at home I can play my PlayStation 5 and get the absolute best console experience of a Ubisoft game. But then I can also go to work and just maybe play a bit using the keychain on my phone through Stadia with Ubisoft Connect.
Yeah.
And having that so I can play any Ubisoft game on whatever platform I choose to play would be ideal.
Yeah, that's it.
But they just need to get it on PlayStation.
Convenience, accessibility,
yeah,
that's the future of gaming, so only a matter of time. Another caveat that came out of the revenue breakdown was Assassin's Creed Valhalla continues to do absolute gangbuster numbers for Ubisoft. No surprise there. Assassin's Creed Valhalla has now earned more than $1 billion of revenue, making it the first game in the Ubisoft flagship franchise to do so. The Viking era epic passed the milestone back in December, and he updated us as part of the earnings call. Of course, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is by no means done. It's already surpassed Odyssey. However, it's going to have the biggest and best supported post-launch content. We've seen it with the free content, the seasonal pass stuff. We're getting Dawn of Ragnarok, which is its own 40-hour expansion in itself. We had the Ireland and Paris DLCs, which were part of the initial season pass. And it just seems like Ubisoft have this pivot where they intend to support games much, much longer. And Richie, if the game's raking in over $1 billion in revenue, why would you want to leave it on the floor?
I'm genuinely surprised by this, because I don't think Valhalla was well received. It's not. I'm not going to say it was received poorly, but compared to how Odyssey was received, Valhalla almost feels like, I don't know, the perception I've got as how the video gamers in general kind of rank them would be Odyssey, Valhalla, then Origins. So I'm a bit surprised. I know they kept the DLC up, but to $1 billion is huge. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Who's still buying this game?
Yeah, it goes to show that Assassin's Creed, I know we've lamented them sometimes for putting the Assassin's Creed logo on games that maybe didn't require it, but it just goes to show like the power of branding and an IP is very much alive and well.
I'm curious of how they work out the revenue from Ubisoft Plus and for something like this.
Might be hours, just time played.
Because there could be some creative accounting going there to push it past. For me, my assumption would be this is how much Ubisoft Plus has raked in this month. This is this breakdown of games. We divide that one by the other. This is the value of this game on this platform, whatever it is. So that probably pads it a bit, actually.
Yeah. But it's great to see it's got content. Like Dawn of Ragnarok is very much on my radar. Once I'm finished with Horizon, there's nothing really on my radar for a little while. So this could be it. They're going to get me back into a 2-year-old game for the sake of that. So, and I love me some mythology from Nordic times. I guess then, moving on into the next bit of the story from the earnings report, Ubisoft also discussed the idea of a potential buyout. So they were happy talking about their actual independence as such, and saying like in the wake of several massive gaming industry acquisitions, we're happy being independent. Of course, they did fight off Vivendi from a corporate
Yeah.
takeover for
That
a
was
long,
more
long
of a-
time.
It was more of a hostile one.
yeah.
It was like they were trying to force it. So
Yeah, they didn't.
it's
want
different.
To sell.
Someone going, it's sort of like someone on Sony and Microsoft going here. Hi guys, we want to talk. We want to buy you. It's just a conversation here too. Going, you know what? We're gonna keep buying shares, and try and force you out.
Yeah,
they're very different
nothing left.
approaches.
So, that aside, though, yeah, it's interesting to say they're quoted as saying they've had the biggest portfolio. It's the richest it's ever been in terms of IP quality. Their assets are so strong. They've never been so high. But then on the flip side, after fighting off a hostile takeover and being proud and fighting to remain independent at all costs, they follow that up with a quote that says, "We've always taken our decisions in the interest of our stakeholders, which are our players, employees and shareholders, so Ubisoft can remain independent. We have the talent, the industrial and the financial scale, and a large portfolio of powerful IP. Having said that, if there is an offer to buy us, the board of directors would, of course, review it in the interest of the stakeholders." So again, any publicly traded business, money talks at the end of the day, and it's no surprise that if someone came in with a big swinging bag of money, and you're sat there as a shareholder and being offered, we're talking like Xbox numbers of money, you're not going to turn that down, are you? Really?
Now, there's an interesting way they put it there. They put it players, employees, shareholders, and that's the order they put it in. I wonder if that might be the priority they see it. Players first, employees second, shareholders come last. How big is the bag of money that makes shareholders go first?
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what we're talking about, assuming that, because this is a deliberate statement, so they've debated what order they put listing them.
I mean, yeah, it's a well-written statement.
For me, arguably, I would go employees, players, shareholders. Look after your staff first, then your customers, then your shareholders. But even fine. But I don't know. Ubisoft like money. Ease Gilmon clearly likes money.
I mean, we all like money.
If the bag's big enough,
yeah,
I think he could go. I hope though, even if someone does come with a massive sack of cash, they go, "What are you going to do with the company?" And don't just go, "Yep, give us the money, you can have it."
Yeah, you need
what are you going
almost
putting in contracts certain things that they can't deviate from, because you can do that in a sale. You can go, you know what, you know what, for the next 10 years you're not allowed to shut down any current studios. You could write that into a contract.
Yeah,
that is part of the agreed terms of purchase, and you're not allowed to move the studios. So all your employees don't get uprooted. All current employees, you have to honour the contracts of. So all that sort of stuff can be written in.
Yeah.
So, and again, I think that a lot of it comes down to what's the money and who's buying, and what are the plans. So I could see Ubisoft getting bought out.
Yeah, and let's
but ultimately, I think they've had this conversation probably because they've had to.
I mean, yeah, it's going to come up when you're seeing your competitors and your fellow game makers in the industry literally get picked up for billions and billions of dollars. You got to look at yourself and go, why didn't they buy us? Like, what are we doing wrong, or what do we need to do right to get in on this cash?
Well, it might not even be that. It might be a case of, okay, guys, Microsoft and Sony are currently in a like basically an IP war where they're just buying everyone. We're clearly going to be on the list of both of them at some point. We should talk about this. Yeah,
we were.
And the answer might just be the key stakeholders set all agree that doesn't matter what the cost is, we're not selling.
Yeah,
and that's absolutely fine. But they might go, okay, what is our number?
Yeah,
and I bet you they now have a number. Easegame1 will have a number. You'll never know it. What his number that he has written down somewhere in his office, going 50 billion. If you hit someone offers 50 billion, we take it.
Yeah, it's interesting to think that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But they obviously within the statement they do also clarify like they've got the richest IP catalog that Ubisoft has ever had, with iconic brands across multiple genres. And you know what? They're not wrong. They might be having a rough time at the moment with all the Tom Clancy shit and dropping Hyperscape and all that. And the
remember,
the
this is an investor's call. They're bigging themselves up because they want to the investors. So, we've got the richest IP we've ever had. Because you're not going to say, well, we're being a bit crap at the moment. You're not going to say that to your investors, are you?
True. But I mean, I wouldn't say they're wrong though in saying they've got a rich catalog.
I don't think they're wrong.
Assassin's Creed alone, $1 billion in revenue, so that's a great selling point to put on your CV anywhere.
Yeah.
But moving on from earnings report, the last little tidbit we did get out of this is that Skull and Bones will apparently be out before April 2023. So last little bit from the building on the future of Ubisoft and their financial year to 2023 game pipeline. They mention Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, Ubisoft and Stadia confirmed. So that my money's on again. I've said time and time again, this will come out in line with the movie launching. I think the movie's set for a December launch. They're going for that Christmas window. I can see this dropping around November, December time this year. Mario and Rabbids, of course, Nintendo exclusive. Skull and Bones, as well as more exciting games yet to be revealed. So I'm guessing Ubisoft forward, but interesting to see that Skull and Bones has kind of been funneled in.
Yeah, Skull and Bones, and then Beyond Good and Evil 2. That's been mentioned, so I think we need to see something of both of these games. Skull and Bones, I think we do need to see in 2022.
Yeah.
I think we need to see, probably maybe around E3 time, a refresh of Beyond Good and Evil 2 with an actual date.
Yeah.
By date, I mean, could be fall 2023.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be January the 24th, but...
Yeah. It's interesting,
if that game is coming out, which there's been starting to drop more info about it recently, then they need to start going public with it and go, right, yes, guys, this game is coming, and this is when. But Skull and Bones needs to be this year for me.
Agreed. There also needs to be, in a weird way, a push for the industry of what's coming next, because obviously COVID and lockdown and working from home, it's had a bit of a stalled knock-on effect of the video games industry. Everything that was in development as the start of COVID, they managed to push them out the door and get them finished. But then new projects have started up, and we haven't really heard much. And I think we said time and time again, Stadia's roadmap, we don't have a clue. Looking at PlayStation as well, now Horizon's out. We've got God of War, but that's also last gen, next gen. We don't know what else is coming out for the PS5 beyond this year. Nintendo, we know Breath of the Wild 2 is in development. We don't know anything about a new Mario title. But we obviously got Arceus, so we don't know what the next Pokemon thing is. Look at Xbox, they got Halo out the door, they got Forza that are out the door. We don't really know what... It feels like the whole industry has finally hit that point where everything we know about is now out or imminently out, and everything in 2023 is kind of just... So I think it's going to be a loud year for announcements.
I think what we might have seen is, because of the COVID pandemic over the last 2 years, is how games get announced is changing. I don't think you're going to get announcements multiple years ahead of time too much anymore. Mm-hmm. Because basically we've had the 2020 so far it's been the decade of delays. Mm-hmm. So if they can't really, if developers are struggling to pin down an actual launch window and hit it, why are they going to tell us about the launch window? Because if they don't tell us about it, then they don't have to delay the game.
Yeah.
So I genuinely think what you're going to start seeing now is games announced when they're later in the development cycle rather than earlier. Just so they have a strong... Because the further in the development cycle, the stronger your target dates can become. So I just think it's going to be one of them things you're probably not going to hear. I think we'll hear about games coming out in 2023 from PlayStation this year, but I don't think we'll hear about 2024 games. That's why I think we are as an industry. Same with Ubisoft.
Yeah, I think everything is quite interesting, and the way it's all kind of took it's had a slowdown, and then we know video games are all about hype and the future and stuff, and we've alluded to it a few times, but like even Google Stadia at some point are going to have to come out and tell us about the future plans, because they're going to have to do it, whether that's a GDC or a Google earnings call, because I'm pretty sure Google do that on a yearly basis as well. They have the I/O events. It's like, how long do you go quietly where just nothing's happening and you need to actively talk? So I'm sure it'll come soon. Skull and Bones, you know what? I hope Skull and Bones is absolutely amazing. I hope it comes out, and I hope they do almost like a relaunch where they say, we've took on feedback. We know the gameplay's fun. We know there's a clamber for story. We're giving you a single-player pirate campaign. We've added in these features. There's no doubt there's going to be special Assassin's Creed Black Flag references sprinkled throughout. And they might even rename the whole thing, like just call it, like you said, Pirates Creed or Black Flag. If Assassin's Creed IP is bringing in 1 billion revenue, they would be smart to rebrand this as Black Flag or Pirates Creed, like you said.
Pirates Creed, Skull and Bones.
Yeah, like that, and just pivot off. And you know what? I feel like just even rebranding it as Pirates Creed would give the game so much more oomph and like rejuvenation than it would get by just launching a Skull and Bones, a games as a service Ubisoft title. Because let's face it, with X-Defiant on the horizon and Heartlands and the dropping of Hyperscape, they're floundering a little bit, Ubisoft, with how to get this live as a service off the ground.
And the thing is, because of pushing games as a service and things like NFTs, people looking at Ubisoft and going, we're not really like what you're doing there. I think Skull and Bones is going to be absolutely fine as a game. I'm not expecting more than that, though. I think it's just going to be fine.
Yeah, that is like the Ubisoft standard, though, isn't it? Like the
games
are like
that's the thing.
Good, but there's nothing that blows your mind off. They're not really in many Game of the Year conversations, and that's probably because they have just become quite formulaic and similar.
And the thing is, it's working for them.
I mean, financially, it certainly is.
But the problem is, I think it stifles things creatively. So it's like, well,
we'll see.
Yeah.
But moving on, let's go Peloton. Let's move on to the next story of the week, which is Peloton's video game feature, Lane Break, is finally here. Now, we bring this up because, of course, the Business Insider report from 2 weeks back now broke down that Google Stadia was in conversations with Peloton to bring across a video game using streaming, and that was revealed to be the Lane Break video game. It was in beta for the majority of the back end of last year. It's now out there, and the reviews and news articles are starting to surface, focusing on Lane Break and how it plays, how it is. There's a couple of reviews up on YouTube where you can actually see people testing it out, and it's very much, it's actually, Richie, it's a bit like Thumper in like Beat Saber, but with an exercise bike. You cycle through, you break through walls, you hit the beats. In line with like how fast you're cycling, how slow. Just again, no different than being in a cycle class, and your instructor's saying, "Give me 5-minute bursts of fast pace, and then slow down and speed up," and you're going uphill. That kind of thing.
think this is a sort of game. When I go to the gym and I'm sitting on a bike, I do not use any interactive features at all. I find things like the classes just cringeworthy, to be honest. It's like I just want to drift off and do it with my own thing. Something like this, I could fuck with, to be honest. Like this, I think would be fun for me.
Yeah, I mean it's gamified, right?
And it's gamified. It's challenging. It's like it would suit me well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
in the blink of an eye,
really you've
done an hour of exercise, and that's always my problem. Like, I love playing football because it's 90 minutes of total. You can't switch off. You're interacting. You're always thinking. You're always moving.
Yeah.
Whereas if I go to the gym, I'm in a static place, lifting or running on the spot, and even with music and stuff or a podcast, it's just not the same. It just doesn't engage my brain as much as I want it to do, and that's why I absolutely love playing football.
Yeah, that's the thing you've hit on there. One of the hardest things about exercising, if you're not into the gym, if it's not the hobby, is you're not engaging your brain. You're switching off rather than switching on. Yeah. When we play footy, you're switched on for an hour and a half.
Yeah. You have to be.
The exercise. Occasionally, you get these points. Go, oh God, I'm a bit out of breath here. I should drop the intensity a little bit, catch my breath before I go again. Mm-hmm. But it catches you out rather than constantly being aware of it.
Yeah, you're literally watching a timer going, oh, well, I've done 3K now. Do I keep going to 4K? Or what? Yeah, so it's a whole thing. We should caveat this all, though, with the articles don't mention Stadia anywhere in them. And there's no surprise to that because...
Google.
That one thing. Our good friend Lee Reed over at Stadia Source has actually reached out to the Peloton team, and they've got back saying that all of the games currently out there in the wild are running locally, which means they are on the actual hardware, the bikes, the kind of tablet interfaces they have on them, the screens as such, already, which actually goes back that this isn't running on Stadia then, because Stadia, as we know, isn't local tech. So going back to the Business Insider article then, Richie, now we know it's local. Did this deal just fall through as well? Is Stadia not coming or not powering this game, or... Was this just a beta that they went with a different?
I mean,
avenue
we
with
know
it?
they were in talks, but being in talks doesn't mean anything was signed or agreed, or it doesn't mean you don't. It doesn't really suggest anything other than someone at Google at one point sat down with someone at Peloton.
Yeah,
it could be. Yeah, we've had one or two conversations that didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I mentioned to you before we actually started recording was, if this game runs perfectly fine on the local hardware that comes with your Peloton, where does Google Stream come into play? What's the purpose there?
Yeah. Without knowing too much about the tech, I'm guessing they might have cheaper versions that don't come with memory or like hardware inside.
I haven't looked into Peloton's tech or their offerings or anything like that. So let us know in the comments if there's like maybe lower tier Pelotons that don't have like where the tablet doesn't have the processing power to run a game like this. But
they did say in response as well that they're always looking at expanding the tech and the relationships. But again, I think it's probably safe to say at this point we can put this one behind us, and that clearly the relationship hasn't evolved much. Not that it's that big, quite frankly. Like if someone who's a gamer, like it's great. Like I'd definitely give it a go, but this isn't why I'm invested in Stadia. I want them to.
I mean, I don't think I'd buy a Peloton because I think they're overpriced.
I mean, yeah, I have a Samsung tablet. I could just stick that.
I would if I bought like a bike or treadmill or something to put in my house. I could just do it in front of the TV or something. I don't need inbuilt smart features in this. I'd personally want something basic.
Yeah. The only way I could see this kind of like pivoting towards using Stadia's tech is if you have a cheaper version, or you're maybe out in the wild, they could like use Stadia's tech to maybe have Lane Break running in the cloud on a different device. So if you go out for a real run or you go to the gym, you could use your phone as a middleman between Stadia and your device at home to maybe keep the game running.
Well,
but
you can't really play a game while you're out for a run on a real bike out in the wild.
No, it can use like the gyroscope of the phone to relay the information onto Stadia's cloud version of the game and kind of keep the details. But
I don't think it'd work for Lane Break, but something else could work.
Yeah, it's it's not really why we're vested in Stadia anyway. It's just it's an interesting talking point off the back of the article, and evidently it doesn't look like it's powered by Stadia. So let's put that one to bed, ladies and gentlemen. But one that we're not going to put to bed because it's not even out yet. Jackbox 9 has been teased. So over on social media, Jackbox Games have tweeted out saying the Jackbox Party Pack 9 is coming this autumn/fall. We're announcing the first game next week and giving a sneak peek during a stream called Inside the Box on the 24th of February. Keep it locked on Twitch or the blog over at Jackbox Games on Twitter. And stay tuned for Party Pack number 9. Richie, I'm actually quite confident this will probably come to Stadia day and date. We've seen a massive surge in 3 Jackbox games come to the platform. We've got 6, 7 and 8, if memory serves me right now. So I think it's a safe bet that 9 will probably be coming this autumn.
Yeah, I think it's safe. And it wasn't that long ago. It's not like we got 6, 7. What is it? 7, 8, 6, 7, and 8. Like it wasn't like we got them like 2 years ago. Yeah. And there's been gap. No, we got them a couple of months back. Yeah. So I think I would put this in the it's coming to Stadia category.
The way development cycles work, again, I can imagine they maybe looked at the older ones to port them, maybe did one of them and thought, you know what, this is quite easy. So then they follow that up with doing another 2. And then I can't imagine with 9 being announced and coming potentially this fall, I can't imagine they just totally ignore their newest entry in the franchise. Yeah, that's not how it works. I mean, there is always the chance that it could be what they've done and out, deal's over.
Yeah.
But
hey, we'll take 6, 7, and 8. Well, we've got 9 coming. Nah, not interested in that.
Yeah. Any particular titles or mini games within Jackbox that you'd like to see to come to version number 9?
Entirely new stuff.
Yeah,
I just give me entirely straight. I think that's what they should be aiming for with every Jackbox. Don't bring out a new version of Quibbage or something. Just give me brand new stuff. Yeah. Every single pop.
Yeah, same.
A pack.
Yeah, because if you've got favourites, just go back and play your favourites if you have them.
Oh, you know what they should do with Jackbox? I mean, we suggested this for other stuff. Get rid of instead of Jackbox 9, just bring out the Jackbox
season.
And then when you come up with a new game, just I've added to it or make it DLC or something, so it's a one single ecosystem.
Yeah, just
that has all of them.
Yeah, season packs.
And you can just add what you want onto it.
Yeah, season packs, and for me the big one is regional packs, because I think some of the earlier games had questions that were like very much focused towards like an American audience, or maybe an age demographic that just wasn't me, and you'd get a question where absolutely nobody would have any clue. But I mean, I guess that's trivia in general. But either way, Jackbox 9 coming this fall. Keep your eyes peeled and look out for it. Another thing that's coming later on this year will be an update to Marvel's Avengers. That's right, folks. They have not, and they will not let this one die. It's still going. After the Spider-Man DLC, further changes are coming to Marvel's Avengers. Square Enix isn't, though, however, ready to reveal a full roadmap just yet. In a new development update, the team has listed some new features heading to the game and admits that systems were built at launch haven't grown and aren't sufficiently delivering the most fun superhero team experience you'd expect.
They finally addressed the major problem of the game.
Maybe. Might not have addressed it just yet. Patch 2.3 is set for release in March and is going to bring a number of changes in advance of a full roadmap of content. Firstly, there's a rework to the war table and the mission select system because, Richie, Nick Fury is returning to take over and lead S.H.I.E.L.D. alongside Maria Hill. The change will also create larger and more concentrated matchmaking pools for higher level players and will further balance gear perks, earnable, and a bunch of new activities. So, again, new characters coming back. Interesting that they seem to be committing to the year ahead. And I don't know whether this is Square Enix's choice or it's their deal with Marvel that is pretty much, if you want to keep making our games and content, you need to support this for the foreseeable. And I have a feeling it might be, there's obviously the long-rumoured She-Hulk is coming, and there's Disney Plus shows. So again, we've got Moon Knight coming. We don't know what's in the bank for later this year. There's so many cogs in the works over at Disney. I wouldn't be surprised if their contract with Square Enix says you need to hit these content markers for the shows to tie in with, which in turn means Square Enix cannot just rest on the laurels with this game. They need to keep chipping away. And I think they wanted to succeed, but you've got to imagine they've had discussions of like, can we just put this in the bin and be done with it and move on to and just live off the Guardians of the Galaxy success?
Well, for me, the critical line in this entire article is the team lists some new features heading to the game and admits that the system built at launch haven't grown and aren't sufficiently delivering the most fun for superhero team experience. That, alongside the fact that they're not ready to announce a roadmap, I'm hoping, because I think there's a potentially good game in there, that they do address the fact that the game goes fairly bland outside of once you play the main campaign and the individual character story content. The game drops downhill very quickly, and then it's just a case of a grind for the sake of a grind.
Yeah.
If they address that, then this game might actually be resurrected. But I do think this is probably last chance.
Yeah, it's interesting. I could see it going free to play, but again, it's a weird one with Marvel because it's such huge IP. They've got the Multiverse of Madness coming out this year. They've got another Thor, I think, is at the end of this year. So they've got now they're bringing the movie MCU skins and cosmetics into it, and we know they've made money off the cosmetics. And in the article, they actually say like, we love our adventures together. We're excited to share new adventures, new planned ways to fight, new heroes, new challenges as we continue to expand Marvel's Avengers. So it seems like they're very much committed, but again, proof's in the pudding.
Again, the problem with this game has never been the IP, because the story content has always been good. But my issue with this game is if you strip away the IP, you've got a pretty mediocre at best game. That's the problem. They need to address the underlying game mechanics in order to. The IP is something that should elevate it, but not be. The game shouldn't be so reliant on the IP. This game would have absolutely flopped even harder if it wasn't for the Marvel tag. So
if it was just like generic heroes, collective. I'm really interested to see if Suicide Squad makes it out this year. If that, or maybe even Gotham Knights to a degree. If that has a bearing on how Avengers is, like, do they want to see this out because they could either learn from each other, or is they going to see how that lands and maybe take some ideas from it, because from what I've seen, like Suicide Squad looks like it's pretty much the same game. Hero team fighting random enemies across multiple areas of a map. Do they do it any better? Do Rocksteady know any better? And yeah, so there's a little bit of a superhero DC Marvel fight off potentially on our cards for 2022. And Square Enix have had the head start with Avengers, but see where this plays out long term.
Yeah.
But we'll keep an eye on that one for certain. Final few stories for the week, ladies and gentlemen. Netflix have announced they are going to turn Bioshock into a live-action movie. Of course, no Bioshock on the Stadia platform, as much as I've been wishing for it since day one. However, Take-Two do have titles on Google Stadia, so little tidbit to throw in for the week. I'm a massive fan of the Bioshock series, so seeing it turn into a live-action film, I totally watch. I went and saw the Uncharted movie last week. And it's not as bad as everyone thought it was going to be. If you're able as an adult to separate a video game from a movie, you should probably enjoy it. It's a good action movie. It's got some fun set pieces. You can't
ask people to do
that, Chris. I know. How dare I? But yeah, you know what? It's getting a surprising amount of okay reviews. Like people coming out from the games industry saying, you know what? Better than I thought it was going to be. Not like it's not. There's nothing in the movie that is bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm expecting. I haven't seen it yet. I'm expecting Uncharted to be fine.
Yeah,
a decent, entertaining action flick that I'll probably get more out of because I'm an Uncharted fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I'm never expecting this to be. Oh my god, this is like top tier like entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think the IP, as much as I love the IP, I don't think it is solid enough in that way for a great movie. The Uncharted, for me, Uncharted, the strength of it is in the kind of the gameplay loop and the story together. So you take away half of what makes Uncharted so good, and you're left with a solid action flick.
Yeah. So that's it. Like, why would you expect any more? As I said, the set pieces were fun, enjoyable, great. The ones they took from the games were interesting to see, kind of made into live action. And the set pieces designed purely for the movie, they work as far as an action adventure movie went. Yes, it was a bit crazy and it defied physics a lot, but it works. And yeah, if you go in thinking, oh, Mark Wahlberg doesn't look like Sully, and Tom Holland, it's not Nolan North, and he's not Nathan Fillion, I was like, yeah, you're going to be disappointed. But you know what? As an adult, separate the two worlds and just go and have fun. Like, you don't have to take it serious. They're not ruining characters. If you're that dead certain on the games, go play the games. No one's stopping you from going and enjoying the games. It's a funny world we live in. It's a funny world. But
sorry, I was checking my phone because I had my letterbox and my Horizon's here.
Forget movies. Richie's playing Horizon. But yeah, back to Bioshock. I think it could create a very interesting, dark, broody kind of sci-fi world.
The setting is so good.
It's totally
honestly.
Separate.
Actually, I was about to say this could work really well as a show rather than a movie.
Yeah, I did think that as well.
But is there enough characters?
Yeah, that's another thing. And I definitely think the Big Daddy characters could create a really eerie element of horror. So depending on how they approach this, I'm really interested. Netflix, don't know what the budget's going to be like. Are they going to fully commit to this, or is it going to be like a subpar Netflix commitment? Are we going to get Stranger Things, Lord of the Rings levels of budget? Or just
absolutely lean into the creepy, like, survivalist sort of vibe of it. Like, the isolated and these weird things going on around you. You want this film to feel like empty. Don't go too heavy on the action for me on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
action scenes, yes, but don't make it about the action scenes.
Yeah. Keep me scared, keep me on the edge of my seat, and more importantly, like, you've got the world of Rapture to make, which I think is such a dystopian, amazing setting to have any story told in. You can bring in new characters and stuff, but just the world of Rapture alone should create an amazing setting for a movie. I want this to be very cerebral. Like, I want, like, what's the name of the guy? Thank you, kind. Would you kind Andrew Ryan? Yeah. Would you kindly? I want that. Yeah. Like, would you kindly go to this place? Yeah. Could you imagine someone who doesn't know what Bioshock is as well? It's sprinkled throughout the movie, and it's like only at the end when you get the reveal, it's like, oh shit, and you kind of watch it back and go, this is why I think it was a TV series it would have worked, because like every episode could have had a would you kindly moment. One drop. Yeah, and only at the end you go, 10 episodes in, you're like, they've said that so many times.
People who've played gamers who are aware of the whole meme and the whole thing with Bioshock will be sat there with a big smile. Oh my god, he said the line.
Yeah, exactly.
It's happening. And non-gamers are like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like in the whole manipulation thing. Oh god, yeah.
Indeed. So we'll keep our eyes out for that on Netflix, I'm sure, but still a long way off. But you know what? Video game movies, I know they say they're bad, but like I said, I enjoyed Uncharted, I enjoyed the Sonic movie, I enjoyed the Tomb Raider movie.
They need the right love. It needs to be the right IP with the right people behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it needs the budget. Often they've just been cheap cash-ins, and that's been the problem.
Yeah.
It's the same when it's went the other way. When you made movie tie-in games, they can be very good, but if it's just a cheap cash-in, that's what it is.
Yeah, you're gonna suffer a little bit for that. So, all that aside, then final stories of the week. Stadia did put out a dev blog post this week. At the time of writing, it came out on February the 9th, and it focuses on Stadia experiments and why they are useful. Of course, anyone who's used Stadia for the last 2 years will know Experiments tab within your phone. You had to turn on to use mobile data originally. You had to turn it on if you didn't have a Google Pixel phone. They essentially just solidified what we already knew, which is they talk about scaling to different Android devices and different phone supports for various screen sizes and such. They spoke about using mobile data with confidence. I've said time and time again that the way the 5G expansion is rolling out over the last 2+ years, and its own internet infrastructure and Wi-Fi public access is only going to get bigger and better over time as technology evolves and it expands. They covered that again. In conclusion, saying that it's a great opportunity to delight superfans. I don't know if we class as superfans, Richie, but they are setting expectations appropriately for future features in the kind of year ahead. You and me read this article after we did our Thursday night live stream. Yeah. I think we're both under the consensus of it's like a year and a half too late for a dev blog post. You're telling us stuff that we've had and knew about for nearly 2 years now. Doesn't really mean any difference. However,
I'd imagine developers on Stadia are aware of it as well.
Yeah, it seems odd that you would tout these points so far detached from when they went live.
That's my kind of takeaway. Is who's this blog for?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like I said, we read it, and I saw it was after we did our live stream. They tweeted out about it, and I thought, oh, we've got a Stadia tweet about early access. What does this mean? And I looked into it, and it was basically telling me, a year and a half ago when you turned on 5G data, or 2 years ago when you turned on experiments so your Samsung phone would run it instead of a Pixel. That's it. I was like, okay, great. I've knew that for so long now. I'd actually forgot it was even a experimental feature. However, here we are talking about it February 2022. So my biggest takeaway from this is this comes in line with the other blog posts. I hope and I think Stadia might be gearing up for a big presence at GDC.
I'm cautiously optimistic. It feels like they are. We've had a few drip feed things recently that feels like developer-y stuff aimed at developers rather than consumers. Being one. Literally it's a development blog post. So
yeah, it feels like we've had more dev blog posts than we have this week on Stadia posts.
But we've been burnt by Stadia doing stuff like this in the past. It's just could be us seeing a pattern where it's just coincidence.
Yeah, true. But we'll have to wait.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, GDC isn't too far away either. We're in end of February now, and it takes place a month from today. So time will tell. I feel like I say time will tell a lot on this platform, but I digress. Yeah, definitely. Final story of the week: Dead by Daylight teased this week a new character coming. We've knew about it for a little bit of time. The killer from Ringu will block up your wells and creep out with a creepy, scary hair, of course, from I believe it's the Ring movie, right? That it was translated.
Yes.
Japanese horror. Cult Japanese horror moved over. Sadako is the new killer, known in-game as the Onryo, who horror fans will recognise crawling out of wells and TVs. She'll be joined by a new survivor as well, Joichi Asakawa, the only protagonist in the Ringu franchise to ever survive The Vengeful Ordeal, is now showing up. Ringu introduces a psychological horror element to our game, which is very different from the slasher style our fans are used to. They can expect Sadako to come with creepy and surprising gameplay mechanics that are not found in any other killers, said the creative director Dave Richard. Survivors beware, she will freak you out. And I wanted to end the show on this particular article purely because some streamers out there have received early access to the game, Richie, so they've been able to actually go live and broadcast it. And in the main menu, she actually jumps out at the camera. So if you're, when you sat in the load screen, you've got character select, and they kind of stand there waiting to, almost like in a lobby, to go in. She actually does that thing where she flashes right up against the screen, and I've seen a few clips of influencers, middle of like menu settings and talking to the chat, all of a sudden, bang, she's scaring the shit out of people with headphones on.
So some of the reactions I've seen, fine. You see someone, bloody hell, what the? Yeah. Wasn't expecting that. Some people just need to calm the hell down because there's people taking headphones and running out the room. It's like, come on, that's not a genuine reaction. Like you're not running out of the room for that. Like, I go, bloody hell, it's a jump scare. Bloody hell.
Is that not?
It would get me, but I'm not going to be sprinting down the street.
Yeah, you'd go, oh shit, but you wouldn't. Yeah, you would. Again, is this just because we're so British and we keep our emotions deeply bottled inside? I've seen people flip out at the Nintendo press conference last week about like the Mario Kart tracks. Holy fucking shit! It's like it's DLC for an 8-year-old game. Like, come on.
I'm passionate about games, but it's like, it's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. Well done. Bring more tracks and pretty much giving Mario Kart the Smash Ultimate treatment. It's like, go bring more stuff. That's good.
You do have to laugh sometimes. Like you said, you can be passionate about something, and I love it. But there is a case of like, what point do you see something and it makes you stand up and take headphones off and go, oh my god, they did it. It's like, what, a developer who makes games developed something for their game.
Yeah.
Go figure. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we round up. Holy fucking shit! For episode 100.
This is why we're not reaction streamers.
Exactly. Yeah, if you come here for crazy off-the-cuff emotions on the edge of our sleeves, that's not what you get, because we're both British, we'll both keep our emotions bottled up, and we'll talk very sarcastically with a dry sense of humour about all that goes on. But
will we now?
Will we now? Yes, we will. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for episode 126 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, brought to you by myself, Richie, and Tom for Helix Cloud Games. That's been another great show. Thank you to everyone who's watched in, tuned in. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, click like, give us a subscribe, and click that bell so you're kept in the loop with all of the content we bring you here at Helix Cloud Games, like our live streams, like our Let's Plays, like our first looks of Submerged Hidden Depths. Go check it out, available now. And our members, of course, special shout out to you. If you want to be a member, if you want to support us, the content, and our non-reaction streams, do click join below on the YouTube video. From as little as 99p, you get access to SideQuest stickers, badges, up to 6 days early. Richie, remind the people just before we go what we will be discussing in this week's episode of SideQuest.
We will be discussing Ubisoft's game library for 2022.
Yes, we will. It's going to be a good one. We're going to go record it now. Possibly going to go stick Horizon in to install it, because that's what I've got to do with the PS5. I've got to actually wait for it to download and install and update.
That's a good idea, actually. We can do that between shows.
Yeah, see? Always thinking. Thank you once again, folks. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
And remember, everyone, play whatever makes you the happiest. We'll see you on the next one. Have a great week. Bye.
Bye.